We have test test. Youth has test. Anti-rooms are not subject to the law of dwellings of idolaters, and Reb Shimon ben Gamliel says the law of dwellings of idolaters does not apply to a city that was destroyed. East Kisrin and West Kisrin are graves. There was a doubt concerning East Akko, and the sages declared it to be Tahor. Rebbe and his rabbinical court came to vote on Kane and declared it Tahor. 10 places do not have the law of dwellings of idolaters: the tents of Arabs, huts, lean-to, storage huts, summer awnings, a guard shack, an open air area of a courtyard, a bathhouse, an armory, and a military camp. Okay.
Hadullah, Sefes Olos, and
Uh,
Negaim, go.
but we're not finished with all the others. So. Okay. Okay, Aleph. Appearances of the Negaim are two that are four. Baharis is bright like snow. Secondary to it is like the lime of the sanctuary, and Sais is like the membrane of an egg. Secondary to it is like white wool. These are the words of Meir. But in common say, Sais is like white wool. Secondary to it is like the membrane of an egg. The
Okay,
reddish.
that's me. Okay, so just to explain this again, there are differences which we will see in halacha of the different colors over here. So there are two different classifications, two basic classifications, which are called Baharis and Sa'is. Okay, so Baharis and Sa'is are two different categories, but they're two different colors within each. Okay, and so there's the primary color and there's the secondary color, and we'll see that they join together, as we'll see in today's Mishnayos. Okay, a pasuch shebashelig. Okay, so a pasuch is a baheres, which is as bright as hapasuch shebashelig. But here's that's as white as snow, and it's mixed in is a little tinge of red. Okay, kiyain hamazuk b'shelig. It's like wine that was poured into snow. Okay, and that's the sort of color that you would see, and that's still considered a nega. Okay, hapasuch shebasid, and this pasuch that you find in something that's the color of lime, kedam hamazuk b'chalav, which is like blood mixed in with milk. Divrei Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Akiva Omer, Adam Dam Shebazeh v'Shebazeh, the very pale pink that you find in either of them, Kiyain Hamazug b'Mayim, which is like wine mixed in with water. Ela Shel Shelig Aza v'Shel Shid Deha Mimena. So we're having sort of subtle disagreements about what the appearance is of the pink. Because you could have a pink appearance inside one of these Negaim, and that would still be considered a nega. Okay, Mishna Gimel, Arba Amaros Ha'elu Mitztarfim Zem Zeh, and that's the point, is that you have your four different colors join with each other. Okay, so if you have what we have is a minimum. There's a minimum size of a nega in order to count against the person, which is a gris, which is gris is it's about like this size. The size of about the size of a coin. Okay, and if you have two Negaim right next to each other, each one the size of half a gris, and they're different colors, but they're both colors within these four shades, then they join with each other, and that would make it into a full-sized nega. Okay. Liftor ulahaskir, and it can be to pater somebody, it can be to make someone a definite matzora, and it can make someone muskar. It can put someone into quarantine. So as you recall, a matzora can first be quarantined. Could be that he's immediately decided as a matzora. It could be that he's completely pater. So how does it work? Lahaskir is ha'omed besof shavua rishon. So it could be that these two will join together to continue the quarantine of somebody whose nega hasn't grown within a week. Okay, so he can still be quarantined. Okay, liftor es haomed besof shavua sheni, but it could also be that those two will join together. Those two will nonetheless pater up somebody whose nega has not grown after 2 weeks. Okay, so if somebody for a matzora, we'll see later on the halachas that if the Kohen looks at the nega and it doesn't have any hair in it, okay, it doesn't have a white hair in it, so that's not a clear sign, and that's then he goes into quarantine, and he comes back and checks it a week later, and if it's the same size, he with no hair, again he puts him into quarantine. If it's after 2 weeks the same, he says, okay, you're patur, you can go back home now. Okay, and that's so this is the size of the and these different colors combined to make the neg of the requisite size. Lahachlit. Okay, we can also make somebody a definite mitzvah. Eshenolad lo michya, if it's got a healthy skin in the middle of the nega. So when you see healthy skin in the middle of a nega, that's a siman tuma. Okay, that makes him for sure tameh. That makes him for sure a mukhla.
Healthy skin inside a nega makes him tameh.
Tameh. If he's got healthy skin inside the middle of the nega, that's a siman of tuma. Or say alavan, also a white hair in the middle of the nega. That is also siman tuma. But tchila b'sof shavua rishon b'sof shavua sheni. It doesn't matter when that appears. If it's right at the beginning, the first time the Kohen sees him. If it's at the end of the first week. If it's at the end of the second week. All of those junctures, it immediately becomes a mukhlat. And also, even after he has been discharged from his quarantine, and he comes back to the Kohen again with a new sign, then this is so that he would also be straight away mukhlat. Also, if the nega has grown, that's one of the things that they check for after the quarantine to see if the nega has grown. If the nega has grown, that's mukhlat. Okay, b'sof shavua rishon, b'sof shavua sheni, and that they check at the end of the first week and at the end of the second week. And la'achar patur, and even and let's say it has not grown after 2 weeks, it just stayed still, and the Kohen discharges him, and then it grows after the second week. The Kohen looks at it again and says, that's a nega. Okay, la'achlit es ha'hofech kulo lavan, and it also works to when somebody's entire body is covered with a nega. Hofech kula lavan is tahor. It's one of these counterintuitive things that if his entire body is covered in white, then he's tahor. There's no, that's not that he does not have to go into quarantine even. Okay, so if he's already been kula lavan mituch hapatur, and meaning that if after the Kohen has purified him, because after the Kohen has purified him, now the tzaras spreads out throughout his whole body, and even if the nega has become a different color or a combination of different colors, the Kohen is machlit him for tumah if he started out with a small nega that the Kohen had already declared tameh. So that we're jumping into some slightly more complicated halachas. If he started out with a small nega and it grew and eventually became kula lavan, that's tahor. But if he started out with a small nega and the Kohen put him in quarantine for 2 weeks, and he came out of quarantine because it didn't grow, and then suddenly it goes all over him, so that is actually still tameh. Because he started out with a nega that was declared tahor, so that's not. It's one of the little.
We started with a nega that was tahor, and then it became tameh afterwards.
So it started out as just a plain old nega which needed quarantine. He was quarantined for 1 week, for 2 weeks. It didn't grow. The Kohen said, "Okay, it's tahor." So he still got this nega on his skin, but it's tahor. And then the whole thing spreads all over his body. So there he doesn't have the heter of hafach kulo lavan, because he's got that one little section that started out as lavan, that was, and so therefore that part did not become lavan, it was already lavan, and therefore he doesn't have the heter. Whereas if he had started out completely normal skin and then had been hofech kulo lavan, he would have been tahor. Okay. בסוף שבוע לפתור את ההופך כולו לבן מתוך ההחלט או מתוך ההסגר. And furthermore, if these colors also combine, that if he was already declared tame, so if he's already declared tame from any kind of nega, and then it spreads all over his entire body, then he's tahor. So all these colors again combine, even if he's got all 4 colors in various parts of his body, that's still called hafach kulo lavan. He's entirely turned white, and therefore he becomes tahor. So these different colors of Negaim, those are the basic principles, the basic building blocks on which all of Negaim depends. Okay. And Dalit.
Easy. Okay.
Easy. Right. Rabbi Chanina Skana Kohanim Umer. Okay. Maros Negaim Shisha Asar. He says there are 16 different combinations of colors. That I mean, you can go into the details how he sees the different seraphim in terms of the different shades of colors. Rabbi Dosa ben Harkinas Amer Maras Negaim Shloshim V'Shisha. He says there are 36 different combinations. Akavi ben Mahalalel Omer Shivim V'Shnaim. He says 72. And so I'm not sure exactly what the argument is between all these people, and you need to be, I think you already need to be an expert in the Negaim to understand the subtleties and the arguments between them of what these different shades are. And I don't know if there's any difference in halacha as to whether you call this a shade of this or a shade of that, and how many different shades you've got on your chart. I'm going to leave that for the experts. Rabbi Chanina Kohanim Omer, Ein ro'im es hanagaim b'tchila la'achar Shabbos sheshavua shelo chal lios b'Shabbos. Okay, so Rabbi Chanina comes and says, if you're checking a guy for a nega, you can't check him the first time on Sunday. Why? Because then his 7th day is going to be on Shabbos, and we're not allowed to check negaim on Shabbos. Okay, so then you got to delay it to Monday. Oh no, you can't delay it till Monday either. Why? You can't check him on Monday. Because if you check him on Tuesday, then his 7th day will be Monday. You look like you're about to sneeze.
No, I'm okay.
Okay. Then his 7th day is going to be Monday. And if you have to quarantine him again, then his 7th day is going to be Shabbos again. So you can't check him first time on Monday either. And furthermore, when it comes to houses have a possibility of going for 3 weeks. So you cannot check houses on Tuesday even, because houses, if they're quarantined for 3 weeks, their 3rd week will end on the Shabbos, and you can't check on Shabbos. Okay. Rabbi Akiva Omer Lo Olam Roim. He says, forget about it. We don't do that kind of cheshbon. If he went the day he comes to the Kohen checks him. And if it happens, Chalios Besocha Shabbos, and if it turns out that one of his examinations falls out on Shabbos, so then you'll delay it till Sunday. Okay, Ma'avirim la'achar Shabbos, and then you'll check him on Motzei Shabbos on Sunday, and v'yesh b'davar lahakel ulahachmir, and this will have implications whether it's lenient or stringent. But it's just the way, however the dice fall, that's how it falls. If it turns out that, and you'll see in the coming Mishnayos that if he was, let's say the nega had not spread on Shabbos, but it did spread by Sunday, he's going to become tameh, where if they checked him the day before, he would have been tahor, or vice versa. Let's say it's spread on Shabbos, and then by Sunday it had already retracted back to its original size. So then that'll be lakula. So it's not a kula or a chumrah. It's just that if your examination falls out on Shabbos, then just push it over to Sunday and let the chips land where they may. Okay, we're going to stop there.
Is it going to get easier? Is it going to get easier? I don't think.